Welcome to the top of the morning show with your girl TT from the D. I hope that you had a restful, peaceful weekend. The weather here in the D has been quite shady, if I would say. 1 minute it's raining, the next is sunny and bright. But isn't that the behavior sometimes that we show and display, or people we know and love show and display? 1 minute we're up, 1 minute we're down. We never know what's going on in people's lives, right? Sometimes we don't know what's going on in our own lives. And sometimes we have to find ourselves able to diffuse situations that we encounter if we think ahead. And when I say think ahead, from day to day, from time to time, every now and then, you're going to encounter a person or people that you will have to have some good, strong dialogue with. As a amazing woman I know, Yola would say, you got to have some courageous conversation. So this morning, I want to share with you what we would think would be 5, because there's a lot of them, but let's just talk about 5 passive-aggressive phrases that we could use when we are in a situation where we have to have communication. Because you know there's an old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? And I find in everyday life, whether it's with friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, strangers in the street, some people have a hard time struggling to balance how they talk to people or how to respond when they're spoken to by someone who seems to have woke up and chose petty, or who have chosen to rise and they woke up and they chose ignorance. And sometimes it can send mixed messages, but we're here to not play Scrabble, but to actually shoot from the hip. Because with problems and situations and tones, tensions can flare, and then we can find ourselves in a whole other situation. So this morning I just want to share just 5 little phrases we can think about, okay? That we can, what might be said. I'm going to give you some examples and maybe what we might want to think about switching it out with, right? When you've been engaging in conversation via email, because I never have seen personally this particular phrase in a text, but I've often saw them in emails, and I am guilty because I've used this one phrase I'm getting ready to say, and then I'm going to share how I probably could have said it, but I didn't know. And you know that old saying, when you know better, you do better. And honestly, when I would say it, it really was what this title is, just a friendly reminder. I really was doing that when in my email communications, not thinking that someone could think that it was something to be bossy or nagging. So, you might say, per my last communication, per my last email, or I'm not sure if you saw the memo. As I had stated before, prior to this conversation, all these things, right? These are phrases. And when we're communicating that we might want to clean up, right? And they can come off, like I said, that we're being bossy or, nagging. So what we could probably say is something like, hey, I hate to bug you. I wanted to make sure you didn't forget. The last time we were talking, I wanted to make sure, you want to take it in that. I just wanted to bring to your memory, I'm saying, something. We want to kind of change it a little bit. It's like, the last time we spoke, I just wanted to remind you, I'm hoping you didn't forget the last conversation we had regarding the so-and-so matter. I just wanted to see if we were still on the same page, or see if you had a change of mind, or, whatever it is, whatever that looks like, right? We don't want to come off like, oh, we just running it down, telling them what to do, okay? The second thing this one right here. Don't take this the wrong way, but that's kind of like when your parent would get ready to spank you and they would say some corny shit like, this gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. Maybe in your feelings, but definitely not in your flesh, right? Because it's like, you're the one getting ready to spank me or whoop me, and you're gonna tell me that this is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. I beg to differ with that, okay? And it's quite offensive if you really want to, I mean, that was just an example, but, when you're talking to people, you're looking at the logic behind it. If you tell a person in advance that you're going to be rude, it's okay to go ahead and do it. No, it's not. You're going to say, listen, I'm going to tell you something, but don't take this the wrong way. No. Now, personally, I'm gonna put the side gold nugget here. Personally, I used to lay out this phrase that I would say to my close people. Because I love differently, I guess I could say. So when I love when I'm talking with my family, my friends, coworkers, associates, and it's some hard conversation, and they're asking my opinion. What do you think, TT? You know what I would say as I sip my coffee? Not my tea, my coffee. That's a good cup of coffee this morning. I would say, do you really want to know? Prior to that, we've already had conversation to let you know that that's my tag phrase line. If you ask me something and you want the honest truth, I'm not going to lie to you anyway. I would rephrase it back if I didn't, like, well, what do you think? Because you already know. Half the time we know, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on when we ask somebody, what do you think about that? We know what we think. But we wouldn't be asking another person's opinion if we were sure. If we really felt comfortable with it, right? So I would say that, like, do you really want to know? And so they know, like, oh, this is probably about to get kicked into a second gear. So that was my TTism. That's what I would do. But if you might want to say something like, you know what? It's an old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I'd rather plead the fifth, right? I'd rather plead the fifth because I don't want to offend you. That is you allowing them to make a conscious choice if they want to hear your raw truth, right? Because some people can't take criticism. You hear people say, especially entrepreneurs, I'm an entrepreneur. I've said this, but I mean it. Because how do we grow if we don't get feedback? I don't need yes men and yes women around me. You're not doing anything for me that's going to help me advance and grow. Because if you say, oh yeah, that's amazing. You did an amazing job. Oh my God. Yeah, you're geeked. You're like, oh shit, I'm doing well. Okay. And then someone else asks them, well, how did that go? Child, man, I mean, they're on to something, but they need a little bit more. Why didn't you say that to me? TT, you did great. However, I do want to point out some things that I think the next run, if you want to try to look at this or look at that, now that's letting me know you did great. Or, and this I don't even require, do you really want to know? As a friend, as a loved one, if you did something, you're doing something, and you said, well, what do you think? I'm going to be like, that's some bull. Or, oh, that super sucked. It was all right. It was kind of, I think you could have did better. You didn't plan. Was you rushing? Because I have constructive criticism. We all do. Some of us water it down, luke it up. No. How will the person that's valuing, I'm sorry, I had to refresh that this morning, that's valuing, I can't tongue twisted. How can the person that is valuing, there we go, your opinion, get truth and know what they need to work on? We got scratch pads, right? We taking notes. I don't want to take faulty notes. If I wanted to hype myself up, I just hype myself up. I don't need you to hype me up when there's nothing to be hyped up about. You get that? And while you think you're being helpful, you actually are destroying them. You're not allowing them to have the necessary tools to move forward and be great. Right? Now, you don't got to be an ass about it. Don't come off as a jerk. But I would remind us all, I said us, I group me too. Because we're learning every single day. There is nothing that we'll ever do that will be perfect. But we can try our darndest to make it perfected. So I would remind us to think before we speak. You know that old saying? Actions speak louder than words, right? Are you focusing on the issue? Are you focusing on how to help someone with the issue? Or are you just focusing on solving the issue for the person, not educating them or teaching them or empowering them to be able to solve their own issue? Because it's okay to say, let me share something with you that's been on my mind. Or, that performance was, I don't know. I think, I saw, because you're an outsider looking in. Or, you know what? Let's have some reflective communication about this. You know what I'm saying? I want you to reflect on what I'm saying. And I'm going to show you. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to beat down people's dreams or kick in and cave in their goals. We're here to empower, encourage, uplift, right? Okay. Now, sometimes people say, so you understand what I'm saying? You and had a good conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's like you really pouring into somebody. You're telling them how, good or not so good. You're really talking with somebody. And then they want to make sure you're there. And you hit them with the, yeah. Okay. Right? The sarcastic version of, shut up. I heard you. Or, oh my God, you're so annoying. Or the young people, oh my God, they're doing too much. They really want to say, leave me the F alone. I got it. Get out my face. Sarcasm is the most obvious form of passive aggression I think that has ever hit the planet. And possibly the most hurtful. Because some people could be sarcastic as hell. It depends on who you're talking to and what you're talking about, right? It also depends on if you're like, oh my God, or you're pissed. You're dumping your feelings and your emotions, and then people are looking at you. They're not even receiving it, first of all. They may not even be present. They're present physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, they're like, I am not here, right? What we could probably try to say differently is, I'm sorry if I seem to be annoyed, but blah, 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 blah. If you are in school, you could be in college, you could be in high school, because I know young people listen to my show as well. You could say, I'm having a hard time with this. I'm not understanding this. I really am stressed. I'm struggling with this, right? And you share, and then you'll get some feedback, right? A lot of times we're talking, especially with coworkers, and we could be high level stress positions, perhaps, that generate stressful situations. And instead of doing something and saying something to them, and then, and they're like, yeah, I got it. It's kind of like, you know what? I know that things are hot right now, and stress levels are like in rare form. Deadlines are due. What can I do to assist? Or I don't want to add anything else to your plate. Let you handle that, and then we can circle back. Just to, put your own spice in there. Don't make it caliente spicy, but put your own spice in there, because at the end of the day, we are trying to redirect how we have to say something that may become aggressive. We can make it less aggressive, passive aggressive, without caving in or not getting the point made across, right? Here's one. Hey, how are you doing? Or how are we doing with that I asked you for? Where you at with that? Now, you're asking a request, right? And it seems polite, but it also could be a form of passive aggression, right? You could say, hey, what's your ETA? What we looking like, on this? We got this deadline coming. What's your ETA? What you need? What you think? Because you're asking for something to be done, right? And whether you're in a supervisor role, management role, or not, a role, you have a role. Like we all get along, right? People can say I'm on. We have different titles, and titles really, honestly, they don't really mean nothing in certain instances, because I could be talking to you and I have great conversation for you, and I'm a podcaster, right? And you could be talking to me and you can have great conversation, but perhaps you're not a podcaster. We're still on the same level. I just got a title. I've been dubbed a podcaster. You haven't, but you could do the same thing I'm doing. It's just not something you choose to do or maybe even thought about doing. But we're not the same at the end of the day. If we get called and they say, hey, we need all the people with great conversation and able to talk with people to stand up. Half the room, if not all room, the whole room will stand. Okay, so now we need all of the podcasters, radio personalities, journalists to come over here. Well, whomever in that room that has those titles are going to move to that spot, that space. But everybody else who has great conversation and is able to talk like that, but don't have the title, will stay standing where they are and looking like, well, we all were on this level, but now we're separated. That's a good icebreaker. I like that. But we might want to try to say, let's be, like being upfront, reminding them of deadlines. You could say, hey, I got a hard deadline of Thursday. You think you can get that to me by Wednesday? Okay, now we know we got deadlines. They got a hard deadline. Your hard deadline is the day before their hard deadline. So now you're creating your own. You got a soft deadline, or you're going to hit that mark. Right? When we got reports that's due to administration, we know the deadlines. And it's like, okay, we got to have this done by X, Y, and Z. So if you tell me, hey, let's just say like today is Monday. Hey, I need this report. We got to get this report done by Monday of next week. That's our hard deadline. It's pressure, but it's not pressure, because we are a week out. We got 7 days. So if you get it done today, if you get it done Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, if you get it done Saturday, you still met your deadline, but you're also going to meet the hard deadline, if that makes any sense. And my last one, number 5. If that's what you want to do, this phrase implies disapproval off the top, shooting straight from the hip. It's up to you if that's what you want to do. It's kind of like, ooh, that truly shared and show passive aggressiveness signals like a red hot light, right? Or the just so you know, or this one, for the future. It's like, oh, your listener hears a common refrain, like, I don't agree. And they may be on some, do you know who I am? Or they might hear you saying, so I messed up again. And that's not helping them be better. As I said initially when we first started the show this morning, we want to empower, encourage, and motivate, not kick down, not discourage, right? We don't want to crush people's feelings. What we could probably say in that fashion, if we have to deliver something like that, is, what if we took a closer look at this together? Let's look at that together, right? Because you're being direct, you're being polite, but you're also letting it be known, I need to look at this because this is not really what I'm looking for. Let's look at it together. That way they can also, or you can also show them, or they can show you what it is that the expectation is. Right? And I need us to remind ourselves that we're going to have to make a lot of decisions in life. What to wear, what to cook, where to go, where not to go, who to speak to, who not to speak to. Not saying like, oh, I walked in the room and I was like, oh, I'm not speaking to him, I'm not speaking to her. No, like if I'm going somewhere and I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to look for the person that looks like they would know if this person is present. So if I walk into an office, if there's a receptionist desk, I'm going to go to that. If I'm at a hotel and I'm looking for something to do in an area in which I haven't visited before, so I'm in another state, maybe another country, the front desk registration checking me in, that's their job. They're checking me in. But if there's a concierge desk, it's the concierge's job to know what's the hot spots and etc. I watched an amazing Netflix TV show, and not to give them any kind of I love Netflix, but not to give this particular show any what's the word I'm looking for, any, oh my god, what I want to say, plugs. I guess I would say plugs. It's called Inventing Anna, and if you haven't seen it, shout out to Shonda Rhimes. Shondaland is amazing. Okay. Inventing Anna is an amazing Netflix, right? And I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it, but you have to. Oh my god, me and my husband and I, we binge watched it, and so I'm still watching it. I'm in that last stretch, but it was so amazing. And one thing that I learned is that how concierges work. It's their job to know what and where, who, when, right? You coming in town, we're looking for a great seafood place or a great a place that got live music. This is their job. They keep their ears to the ground. They keep themselves plugged in, like, yeah. And let me say this, and I'm making a note to myself as I'm saying this morning. When you go to certain places, concierge change. Now, you every now and then, you know, like meet John Wick, the concierge at the hotel. Yeah, he was always the same guy. So he knew exactly, oh, Mr. Wick, it's good to see you. Will you be, you know, whatever. But it's kind of like you make a relationship. So if you know Jenny is the concierge at the Marriott, then when you go, you remember Jenny. Hey, Jenny, it's good to see you. It's just like them. Oh, it's good to see you, Teresa. Welcome back, you know, and things of that. You get to know. You get to know what it is. So we're making decisions, right? You're going to have to make a decision. So you got to make a decision where you're going, where you're not going, like I said, who to talk to. If you walk into that hotel, you're going to the concierge desk. You're not necessarily, you already checked in. You're not going to the check-in registration desk and say, I'm trying to find out what play is in town. Oh, go over to our concierge desk. So when you walk in, you got to know. Look, scan the room. This person looks like they would know. Okay? If there's not a concierge desk, of course, you would go to the front desk and say, could you tell me who I would talk to? I would like to know some of the hot things that's happening. I'm looking for certain things tonight. And then they will, you know, in some upscale hotels, we've stayed in a few where there's a rolling screen and it tells you places to go, what's happening in the city and the dates, and it gives you the weather, and it's amazing. Some of these places are high-tech like that, and I'm so grateful to be able to encounter places like that. But it's like going into here, knowing what I'm looking for and knowing who to talk to. It goes back to the decision making we're gonna have to do, right? And this world is constantly spinning 365 days a year. We're going to come across things. We're going to have to need to know basis of how to talk with people, aggressive, passive aggressive. And sometimes people struggle with, you know, if you're a person that people say, oh, they're rude. It may not just be that they may not be rude. It may be that they just don't know how to really say things. They know they don't want to come off sounding like they're being aggressive, but they may not know how to add that. And so this morning, I just wanted to share those little 5, you know, it's not a lot, but I wanted to say, you know what, let me come on in here and kick off this Monday beautiful morning with these 5 passive aggressive phrases that we can use in everyday life. You can apply it in your work life, in your family life, in your friendships. Trust and believe. When we talk to people that we care about, we know, cordially, whatever that looks like, in the streets, strangers, you don't know the next man, woman. You want to be able to have some of these things in your mental backpack. I hope that you have a wonderful Monday. I hope you have a great week all week long. But I definitely hope that you will rise up and shine with us on tomorrow morning for the Top of the Morning Show. I'll see you soon.